Hello, it's Monday, November 16th, 2009. This week we're talking about family, friends, jealousy, and people who are not supportive of your weight loss as we work our way into the week of Thanksgiving when we're going to be spending a lot of time with family and friends. So this week we are answering the question, how do you handle family members who are not supportive, friends who are jealous, people who discourage your weight loss? This is a very tough question to answer, and I'm going to do my best to answer it frankly because really you can say all you want, but when somebody is unsupportive or somebody thinks they know what's best for you, it can really hurt your feelings if it's not done in a supportive way from their end. I'd like to say that typically I just tell people to F off and get out of my face, but sometimes it's more delicate than that because it's not just an acquaintance or a friend of a friend and I can't just tell them, you know, I know what I'm doing, bye-bye. Honestly, I've been very lucky to have an extremely supportive family, but even when I first started losing weight, I was very secret about it. For the first 4 or 5 months, the first part of 2008, I really didn't tell anyone. I was just kind of in my own head like, I really need to start working on this, and I was doing the baby steps to slowly and gradually get my way into eating healthier so that I could start calorie counting and actually announce it. And then of course I made the video and started doing YouTube videos, and then it was like several weeks before I told anybody I was doing the YouTube videos. You know, I was kind of keeping it to myself because I find it so frustrating when I feel like I know what I'm doing and I'm getting way too much advice. My problem is not that I don't have supportive family members. Perhaps my problem would be that I have too supportive of friends and family members. They all have an opinion. They all have input. They all want to tell me what exercises to do and what foods I should and shouldn't be eating. When I'm around them, sometimes I feel hyper scrutinized, just super micromanaged, because I feel like everybody thinks they know what's best for my weight loss. How do I handle that? Typically, I just smile and say thank you, or that's a great idea. I used to sort of try and argue the point. No, well, actually, I don't do this because of that, and I don't do this because of that, and the research shows this and that, so I'm not doing that, even though you believe that to be the truth. You know, Sean was always on me about my protein and my strength training, and while he was correct, I'm just not going to do what he does for bodybuilding, you know? And while my dad is super into raw and vegan at the time, I was just like, Dad, I'm not going to stop eating dairy. No, you know, and sort of just became too much for me. But what I did was I go, thank you, wow, that's amazing information, I'm going to do more research on that. Generally, I try to be as graceful as possible and just simply say, thank you so much, you know, every bit of input helps, and then I just file it away in my head and I do or don't take it into consideration depending on how much I know about that thing and how much I want to actually pursue it. In terms of people who are jealous or unsupportive, I do have friends who are not so into it. They don't really care to hear about my weight loss because they're not losing weight and they'd like to. And in that respect, I tend to just shut up. I used to not. Again, this has sort of been a learning process. I used to just sort of try and be like, oh, you can do it. You could totally do it too. And here's how you could change your eating. And here's how you could add an exercise. And I think in general that made me come off as snobby, know-it-all, pushy. And in the end, I think it makes somebody else feel like you think they should lose weight. And it probably puts too much pressure on them to feel like they're not doing good enough. So I sort of have backed away from that. And unless somebody asks me, you know, can we talk about what I'm doing? Can you give me any advice? Can you give me help? I sort of stopped dishing it out. And I know I can be pedantic at times, and I do come off very strong and opinionated, but I have, in general, with my friends, chosen to just not talk about it anymore. And that, I think, is the best way to handle it. If somebody seems jealous or uncomfortable, a lot of us tend to not talk about it. But there are a lot of us who would rather try and help and try and show them. And the best way is to lead by example. If you're going out to dinner with a friend who's possibly jealous, I've had on occasion the time where I just sit and talk to them about the weight loss, and it just does not turn into a good conversation. It's very uncomfortable. They're obviously uncomfortable with their weight, and it just gets very complicated. So instead, I choose to talk about other things, but I make the right choices in the restaurant. I eat healthy. I tell them, oh my gosh, normally I wouldn't be able to have this, but because I exercised, I can eat these calories. I'll mention these things, and I'll continue to lose weight. And over time, they've actually come around and actually come now to asking for advice. Once I stopped pushing it on them and just started living by example. So when we come into the holiday and we're with a bunch of friends and family who are possibly unsupportive in terms of the food they're buying, not concerned with your plan because it's the family's day and this is what we always eat, or when you're out with friends and it's just like you're at a restaurant and everybody's eating whatever, you can choose to either be graceful and be humble and quiet, or you can choose to try and push what you're doing onto everybody else in a way of announcing, this is what I'm doing and you all should take note. I'm assuming that this advice is for very few of you because most people are a lot more gracious and humble than I am. But this is what I do, and this is what I've had to work on, and it's how I handle it. When I go back to Seattle, especially for Christmas, this is going to be a big deal, seeing all my old friends. It's very important for me to remember to just sort of keep my mouth shut, appreciate everyone's advice, and to not take it so personally if they all want to be involved or if they don't want to be involved at all. So I hope that that helped some of you. I think it's more of a sharing session. I think that the rest of the week everybody's going to have different interesting views about how they handle perhaps a specific situation with a family member or friend who was not supportive or who was very supportive to the point of interfering. I hope that this week helps you. I hope that you are losing weight and feeling good about it. Thanksgiving is next week and we are off next week, so I will see you 2 weeks from today.